Well, hey everybody, welcome to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Takers. This is episode 28 of that series. My name is Jackson, and I am today getting the opportunity to share some joy with Joy. Our guest today is Joy Boone, and she's a newly passing member of the Alabama Bar. And wow, what a story you're about to hear, and what an individual you're about to meet. So Joy, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell our audience a little bit about your background and how you came to be in a position to take the Alabama bar.
Okay. I grew up in California and I went away to college. I went to State University for undergrad, where I majored in criminal English. And then I went to Southern University Law Center for my law degree. I graduated from law school in 2010, and I sat for the bar the first time using a different bar review in 2012. I wasn't able to sit for the bar right when I graduated because I just didn't have the money. So when I finally got the money, I was able to sit the first time, and I missed it by 12 points. And so all these years later, I was able to sit for the bar again, and now I passed
Yeah. And so how many times did you take the Alabama bar?
twice.
Twice? Okay.
hmm
And so the first time you took the exam, you missed by 12 points. Tell me what that was like and what it felt like to you after the exam.
Well, it was very horrible because I actually had to have a character and fitness hearing before I sat for the exam. So I had to fly all the way from California to Alabama because I had about, I think maybe 6 speeding tickets, and I had some credit issues. So I actually had to go there for a hearing first, and I couldn't stop crying in the hearing because I just felt so bad because I had worked so hard to become a lawyer, and just to have someone question if I was good enough to sit for their bar. So after I made it through that, and then they approved me, then I sat for the bar. I had to fly all the way back to Alabama and sit for the bar again. And then when I didn't pass, I just felt horrible and just felt like a failure.
Yeah.
Like I had gone through all of this for nothing.
Yeah, that's a pretty horrible feeling, isn't it? And in that time, what was your thought process? I mean, what did you start to think about what you were going to do next? You've gotten this result, you haven't passed, you've been through the hearing. Now what are you thinking? What's the next step?
Crazy theory. I was asked if they didn't approve me to sit for the bar, what would I do next? And I just, in the midst of my tears, I just told them that I would just get a job and just start working, and kind of I didn't pass. I couldn't afford to sit for the bar again, and my parents weren't going to help me. So I just pretty much started looking for a job to work and, just have stop wanting to be a lawyer. It was just that I know that I need to work to, provide for myself and be able to pay for it again.
Yeah, yeah,
So I always kept, hope,
right. And
but I
yeah. And did you continue to think about studying or do some studying in the interim?
actually, after I didn't pass, I threw all my bar materials away because I was so mad. So I didn't have anything that I could study from at that. So I kept reading about the different cases in the 11th Circuit, which is the Alabama Circuit. Just reading cases and reading the cases also from California, just to keep me going with just knowing what was happening in the law.
Hmm. Okay. Um, and so how did you find Celebration Bar Review? What happened there? Talk us through that process.
I found your bar class on, I think maybe on Facebook.
Hmm.
I think I may have seen like an ad or something, and then I clicked on it. And I actually, the first time I sat for the bar, I actually did some of your methods. The method as far as multiple choice and picking a letter that you wanted to use before you go onto the bar exam. And if you don't know the question, if you don't know the answer, then just use that letter, bubble letter. So I did that for the first bar exam. So I think I knew about you, but I just couldn't afford it. My bar materials for the other bar review cost me $50 total, and they were actually pretty good. I just didn't have anyone that I could speak to, or if I had any questions, they weren't really there to answer. They were lawyers, so they just put the bar materials out there and just said, we can't really question. So that's kind of how that went.
Yeah.
So I think I like a while ago had seen you on Facebook.
Okay. So you decide you're going to retake the exam. You sign up for our course, and you took our basic mentoring course, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what was that process like of studying that this time? Was it different than the first time?
It was absolutely different just because I used photo reading. But when I first got all the books, I was a little overwhelmed. There was about 12 red books that showed up, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I have to read material. This is insane. So I immediately signed up for the photo reading class to with reading all that, because the fun thing is, Jackson, even though, I wanted to be a lawyer, I don't read. So it kind of helped me with the photo reading class because I didn't have to read all those books. So that's kind of how I, when I approached it, was, okay, I can photo read this material.
Now, not everybody that's watching or listening knows what photo reading is. So would you take a minute and explain that to people? If you were explaining photo reading, how would you explain it to them?
And a lot of this is kind of weird. I think for you open a book and you gaze at the book, kind of pages maybe, and through the binding of the book, and you pretty much just gaze at it for a couple seconds and then flip the page, and all of a sudden you actually know the material. It's kind of a weird, I can't really explain it. It's just, you just look at the pages, and you don't look at the words, you look through the words, and then you just all of a sudden know what was on the pages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's kind of, I can't really explain it that well.
It's hard to understand sometimes, isn't it? Because it feels so very different than anything else you've ever done, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But what photo reading did was it gave you the chance to read what would take normally hours and hours, right? And to do it in just a few minutes, right? But then as you're reading, yes, it's not in your conscious brain, right? So you finish reading, and I think you sent me an email at one point and you said, nothing's sticking. It's not there when you were studying for the bar. But what was that process? How did it feel? I mean, was it like you could consciously recognize what was happening and you were reading, or was it something different?
I don't know what you're reading at all. I mean, you the pages, it's not in your mind consciously, but when you take the exams, you'll know that the information is in your mind. So you don't know what you're reading. You're not going to recall anything if someone just asked you a question about what you read, but when you sit down and take an exam, it will come back to you.
Yeah. And did it shorten your reading time? I mean, did it reduce that, correct?
It absolutely did, especially because I was studying, because I work full time, and that I was in the process of moving as well as changing jobs. It really worked well for me because I woke up from 5 to 7, I studied in the morning, and then I went to work, and then after I got off work, I studied from 6 to 12. So photo reading helped me to get in a lot more studying than I would have if I had to read every single outline.
Yeah. And then after you read the material, we activated it with the lectures and the question practice, right? And so tell me a little bit about the full-length practice that you did near the end where you were photo reading. What was that like?
I was getting a lot of the questions right. I'll back up. I think when I first started photo reading and doing some, I was getting maybe about 60 questions right. But as I kept photo reading and just kept, just in the process, my score kept getting better. And so when I got to the last exam that I think that I gave you, you told me that my score was, a really, really awesome score for the exam. So it does work. I think it just takes time, and you have to kind of get used to photo reading, and there isn't any right way to do it, but I think that you still have to just maintain and keep going with it, and then it will you.
Okay, great. And so do you still use photo reading in your regular day-to-day life?
Well, now I haven't had to read anything, so I'm using it when I do start practicing law, yes.
Yeah, great. And if someone were asking you if they should use photo reading to study for the bar, what would you say to them?
I would say that they definitely should. I would never go back to just reading outlines again, because it's you can photo read and move things along a lot faster. You can cover more as well. So I would definitely photo read rather than just read the outlines. And I think even when I was studying, I was interested in the criminal law outline, so I kept reading it. And I think you were telling me, no, do not read the outline, just photo read. So that the topic is interesting, just still go ahead and photo read.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was different about the essay writing process as you were studying for the bar this second time?
The funny thing is that when I read the question, answers just popped into my head automatically, and so I immediately jotted down just quick notes about what I thought the answer was, and then, kind of why I thought the answer was what it was. And then when I flipped to the answer, it was correct. There were a couple things that I didn't know, but for the most part, I knew all of it. So it just came to me in my mind, and I just immediately started writing. I think that most people should go with their gut when they do photo read, and that the first thing that pops in your mind, just write it down, because that's probably going to be the best answer for you. Just like when they take the multiple choice exam as well, it's going to come to you automatically. So just trust your gut and what comes to your mind.
Yeah. So that's great. That's great advice. So you studied for the bar this second time, and sort of talk us through emotionally what that felt like to you, getting back in. You've been through this ordeal the first time in the hearing, and failing and getting back in and studying. And I know that you sent me some pretty transparent, poignant emails. I mean, there were some pretty real emotions there. And I'm not asking you to bare your soul in front of the world here, but tell us a little bit about how you were feeling at that point.
It was a very stressful situation because I was living in between both my parents' house, and I didn't really have the support that I probably wanted to have, or for someone who's sitting for the bar, even the first time, let alone the second time after they failed. So it was a very, very emotional time where I had to kind of decide what I had to, I had to get out of my situation, my living situation, and I made a drastic, decision to I was thinking, well, I can move into an apartment, and I have to get a lease for 6 months, and then I have to, buy furniture, and I really don't have time to do all that while I'm studying for the bar. So something just came to me and said, well, move into an extended stay hotel. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, they have free Wi-Fi, they have free breakfast, it's already furnished, they have a kitchen, they have cable, whatever I need. So why not do it? Especially since I plan on moving to Alabama soon. It's say on the lease, and everything is already provided for me, and that's kind of what I did. So I moved in, and it took me about maybe a couple hours to move all my things in, and I just started studying here, and had the peace of mind that when I come home from work, I didn't have to worry about just negative thoughts or some just someone trying to say something negative about my experience, or why do you want to be a public defender, or why do you want to sit for the bar in Alabama, why would you do that, and all those types of negative comments that I'm used to hearing. It just gave me a peace of mind to be able to just focus on what I need to focus on.
Yeah, I think it's almost obvious or axiomatic that as a woman of color going to Alabama and taking the bar, that's not the norm. And you could have stayed.
No.
You could have stayed in California, and probably felt more comfortable. But the truth is, you're a winner. I mean, you're a winner to get to law school. You're a winner to take the bar. You're a real winner having passed the bar, and I think you're going to make a huge difference by being a member of the Alabama bar. So I'm thrilled. I mean, I'm very excited. But
Thank you.
What a challenge to do that when you're not getting a lot of support. When your family's saying negative things and people around you aren't very supportive. And I thought that one of the things that really struck me in working with you through this period, Joy, was how strong you are, how much you were just not going to break. They could push you, but you weren't going to break. You were just going to keep working and doing it and pushing through. Is that kind of how you felt? Like, I just got to be tough and tough this thing out and work through it?
Yeah, it was just the idea of saying this is what I really want. This is my career goal, and I can't let anyone stop me from pursuing what I want to do with my life. I think so many people in life don't succeed or don't do what they want to do because they're not tenacious enough, or they allow other people to sway them from what they should do. And I think that the biggest thing that people have to have, especially when you're a lawyer and you're arguing cases, is that you have to stand in your own conviction about who you are and what you're doing and what you defend. And I think that's just the biggest thing for me is, you have to be strong out in life, and it is what you said. I mean, I expect, me ending my career as a civil rights attorney in Alabama, I do expect some type of pushback. So, I mean, it only prepared me for that, in the future, what I may experience. So it's just, I've always been a strong person and just, did what I wanted to do in life and know that I was, doing the best thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, tenacious is a great way to describe you. I just felt like you were just you got your claws in and you were gonna go, and nothing was gonna move you. I mean, we're talking today with this hurricane here, and I think of the bird on the or the cat on the tree is like, yeah, I'm not letting go. And there was kind of that sense of, I'm just not gonna let go. I'm gonna beat this thing. So you're studying, you're getting ready. Now you're going in to take the exam a second time. What does it feel like to actually go back to the test site this second time?
I wasn't nervous or anything, and I think even when I was there in my hotel room, like I told you, I'm not able to study. I'm not, it's not clicking for me. And you were like, if you don't know it by now, you're just not gonna know it. Like just chill out and relax. And so that's what I did. And I photo read before I went into the exam, and I photo read I think 2 books just for the MBE, just for the different topics that will be tested. I photo read that, and then I went into the exam, and at first it wasn't clicking, to be honest, and then I went to the bathroom and came back, and then it all of a sudden kicked in, and I just knew, a lot of the answers. I didn't really have to use the method of picking a letter.
Yeah. That's awesome, isn't it? It's sort of like that little voice in your head. Some people call it the Jackson voice, saying, just do that. But you did that. And so then you're waiting for results. What was it like to wait for results to come out?
I just kept believing that I passed. I never let anyone sway me, or people would say, well, what are you going to do if you pass? And I would always say that I'm going to pass. I know that I passed, and just keep the faith with it. And then on September 23rd, I know that they're going to send an email out. And so I was up at like 6:30 in the morning waiting for the email, and it came. And so just all the time I was waiting, it was just, people saying, what if you pass? What if? And, I just stay with my convictions and saying, no, I'm going to keep believing that I passed. And I did, and it was a big weight that was lifted off my shoulders.
Oh, I'm sure.
It doesn't feel like I'm an attorney yet.
Yeah, I'm sure. So what was it like when you look for the email and it says you passed? What was that moment?
I actually started crying, and I called one of my friends. He was in a meeting because he lives in South Carolina, so he didn't know that the email was coming out that day, because I didn't really want to talk about it that much with people, and have to hear whatever they wanted to say. A couple people knew about it. Like I told you, my supervisor allowed me to use one of the rooms at my job to study during my lunch break. But I kind of kept it close to close to me. And so I just started crying when I got the email, and then it was just like a sigh of relief. And so I went back to sleep for like 15 minutes and and then went to work.
And then went to work. All right. So there you go. So what's the future hold for you? Public defender is one of the things I know you're interested in. Is that right?
Yes. So I've already started applying for jobs. I really want to, there's a lot of things that I want to do. I want to try to see if I can teach like a class at a university, a criminal law class. And I wanted to sign up for JAG Reserve, and then, be a public defender, either on the federal or state level. Prefer the federal level, but, I am open to the state level as well.
That's great.
So that's kind of what I wanted to do. But a lot of people ask me, do I want to be a judge? And I don't want to be a judge. I really want to sit on a parole board. I think that's something different. And this one who's not going to necessarily, just give some type of, I don't know, a different opinion or a different thought process to a parole board. I mean, I'm sure that they have public defenders or criminal defense lawyers who sit on the board, but, just a different perspective, especially since I'm not from the South. And, I went to college in the South, but I'm not, from the South. So just a different perspective that some people may not have.
Yeah.
Or they may not be used to in Alabama.
Yeah, but good. It's time. I'm so excited to see where your career takes you. So this whole process, this journey for you, it sounds like it's been sort of a journey of self-discovery as well, that kind of coming to be comfortable and knowing what you could do and finding out your own skills and abilities. What advice would you have for people who have taken a bar, whether it's Alabama or someplace else, and they failed? What would you tell them now as they're sort of recalibrating?
Just to not give up on themselves. The world is going to tear them to at least have confidence in themselves. And I mean, if you think about a lot of the presidents of the United States, they didn't pass the bar the first time, and they're the leader of the. So just not give up on themselves and just stay focused and every day to study for the bar. Just make it a priority and just keep the faith and keep believing that they're going to pass. Yeah. I mean, I think that's really all they can do, and just stay away from it.
That's great. And your experience with us, with Celebration Bar Review, what would you tell somebody about that experience if they were to ask you?
I really did enjoy it. I think because I chose the basic mentor. I really like how we spoke once a week or once every 2 weeks because I was, busy. I really, really enjoyed that. I think that's a benefit that I didn't have before. Like I told you with the previous bar group that I used, I wasn't able to speak to them. And so I think that that's something that's very, very helpful just to make sure you're doing everything correctly, especially with photo reading, because a lot of people may think that they may be doing it wrong or, they're not quite getting it. And be able for you to be able to be there and to really are doing it correctly, and that it's a learning curve. I think that it's really, really helpful, and I really enjoy it. The books are a little when you find them, they are a little intimidating, but once you start reading through them, it's not a lot of material. Once you start and you photo reading, which I do suggest that people photo read and not just pay the extra money and photo read. Don't go ahead and just try to read all the material. So with the photo reading aspect, it was just it was very helpful to get rid that you are doing this correctly. You will see the results. So just keep going through the motions and you'll get it.
That's great. That's great. Well, Joy, I really want to congratulate you again and thank you for joining us today. I think your story is inspiring. I think there are a lot of people taking the uniform bar exam all around the country. Alabama is one of those jurisdictions, but who are going, wow, how do I get through this? What do I do? Or maybe they haven't had success on their first try. And I think your story is really one that will encourage and inspire others. And I know that your practice of law is going to be really inspiring as well. And so I'm looking forward to kind of checking in periodically and seeing how you're doing and what things are happening. And I'm so proud and pleased that we could be part of your journey and just delighted for you. And want to just say on behalf of our audience, because I know they're going to love hearing everything you had to say today, thanks so much for sharing your story with us and making it possible for other people to know that it's really possible to chase your dreams and go for it, even when it's across the country in a whole different place and without a lot of support. And even if you got to live in an extended stay hotel for 6 months, okay? So
it is what it is.
Yeah, it's pretty
But
awesome.
One more thing, Jackson, that I want to say.
Yeah.
It's also awesome that you offer monthly payment. A lot of people feel that they must have, the whole $2,000 or $3,000 up front. So it's really that, they can make monthly payments as well. I think that's a big draw to your bar review as well, So I appreciate you allowing that as well.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad we were able to do that. It's certainly opened up the ability to take a bar review to people, maybe like yourself, that wouldn't have been able to really afford that all in one dose. So I'm glad we've been able to do that, and that's worked out well. And gosh, great to see you. Great to spend time with you today, and just really thank you again, and look forward to hearing great things from you. And thanks for all of our audience for joining us today for this conversation. We'll be back with you again soon to have another conversation with a successful bar exam taker. So bye for now.